Okay, very good. I apologize if we're a little echoey today, but we're trying to fix that, so we'll see. But welcome. It is April 23rd, 2024. Welcome to our 2 o'clock consent agenda meeting. It is 2:03. We are just a little late. I do want to state that there is no written testimony for today's meeting, and we are going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone could please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I do want to just for the record, please let everyone know that we do have Commissioner Waldrop and Commissioner Jordan are on Zoom, and our CEO Scott Simmons is also on Zoom today. Hence, our attorney Jessica Pilgrim is all by herself at the end of the table. Thank you for being here, though, with us, Jessica. And then we have Commissioner French, Kearns, and myself here in attendance. So. With that, then it's time for open public forum. We do have one person who has signed up for open public forum, so I will call Mr. Tim Kinley down. Thank you. And state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, and this is for anything that is not on today's agenda.
All right. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Tim Kinley. I was been missing for a while. There's a saying that goes, we make our plans and God directs our steps, and he directed me right into the emergency room with a big aneurysm behind my knee and a blood clot. So that's been fun, but the recovery's going great. I want to talk again about, and because of the time lapse and stuff, I'm just going to try to get to the bottom point and what my expectations are. And the first thing is, I know people who can break into any voting machine at any time. And that's just in the U.S. China has over 10,000 people that can break into anything. And so my expectation is to have a meeting in the evening by the commissioners, because you fund the machines, you fund the auditor's department. And the intent would be to get rid of the machines, because by no logical reason whatsoever are they safe or secure. None. Just if a person logically thought it through, there is no way it can be. And even, 6 weeks ago, you funded the USB drive and the formatting software, which is really expensive. That's one of the key components to switching votes. It's already been proven. It just gets done. It's an easy thing to do. So the Republican County Party passed a resolution here for Spokane, and I'm just going to get through some of their therefores. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the people, are in support of replacing universal mail-in voting with in-person voting on Election Day with legal photo ID required, using paper ballots that are hand-counted at the precinct level with results reported that night, while still allowing for absentee ballots by request for special circumstances such as military, overseas, homebound, etc. Be it further resolved that all scanning and tabulation machines and computerized devices should be removed from the voting process, including any that are remotely accessible, as well as any software used in the process that possesses the capability to manipulate vote tabulations or election results. And the public should have all access to election data and information at no charge, and Spokane County must conduct transparent audits utilizing generally accepted accounting auditing principles for all election results, absentee signature verifications, voter address, vote tallies, and reconciliation of blank ballots. And especially on that last one, I know it's not your jurisdiction, but that doesn't happen. We don't have that. But the main thing is you fund these machines. And the Republican State Party just passed a platform. Could I get a couple extra minutes since I'm the only one? Well, no. I'm not asking. You can extend it.
We've been trying to keep it to the 3 minutes for everyone, so I apologize.
But on your one, that's the,
Just to make it, we've had the discussion amongst the commissioners, and that to make it equitable for everyone, that it's the 3 minutes, and that's what we're sticking to. So, thank you. You're welcome to leave us that information, and Gina would make copies of that information, Tim. So thank you, and I'm glad you're doing well. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to testify at the open public forum? This is my second call, well, third call now. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify at the open public forum. See no one online? I'm just checking, Rebecca. No one online? Okay, and no one in the audience. I will close the open public forum. And then I do know that it has been requested that we take item 5A separately. So do we want to do that first, or do we want to, well, let's go ahead with the proclamation. So let's go ahead with 3A today, sorry.
Madam Chair, I would like to read this proclamation in the form of a motion. Whereas there are thousands of therapy animal teams serving communities across the United States, and whereas Pet Partners, an organization striving to improve human health and well-being through the human-animal bond, has designated April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day. And whereas therapy teams in Spokane County play an essential role in improving human health and well-being through the human-animal bond, and whereas therapy animal teams make millions of visits per year in settings such as hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hospital facilities. And whereas therapy animal teams interact with a variety of people, including veterans, seniors, patients, students facing literacy challenges, and those approaching end of life. And whereas these exceptional therapy animals who partner with their human companions bring comfort and healing to those in need. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Spokane County, Washington, on behalf of the citizens of Spokane County, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2024 as National Therapy Animal Day in Spokane County to celebrate therapy animals and their human handlers. Furthermore, Spokane County publicly salutes the service of therapy animal teams in our community and in communities across the nation. Dated this, the 23rd day of April, 2024.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and I do believe that we have Cindy Cutler and her husband Don with Milo in attendance today with us. So please come up and say something, and then we'll take a picture with you.
Well, thank you for doing the proclamation. I hope it raises awareness in our local community of the animal therapy teams that are out doing lots and lots of work for us, and maybe encourage other people to come into that kind of activity. And for me, it's a retirement thing, and I'm just loving it. There's 3 kinds of visits that we do, broad-based, kind of the social visits, where we kind of cheer people up. Milo and I go to Cancer Care Northwest, and we visit folks while they're having infusions, and makes a huge difference to people. The comments are amazing. And we go to Ronald McDonald House and some other settings. We also go to workplace settings like Amazon, the warehouse. So we're there for shift changes. And it's just really interesting. Immediately you can see a change in people when they see the dog. They just light up, even some of you when you came in the room. You know, it just is a nice feeling. The other kind of visits we do are kind of structured with a certain outcome. We take dogs into schools, and they do reading programs where little ones that might be embarrassed to read in front of an adult will read to the dog, and there's no criticism and no pronunciation, suggestions. So anyway, that helps them. And the third kind is for crisis response. If, like the fires that had happened and people are displaced, the animal teams, come on, it's okay. Go in. If there's been a violent activity in the community, we go in and comfort victims They even go into the courthouse and sit with folks who are victims while they testify. So they do lots and lots of different things, and you find the right animal and find what they like to do, and it's really rewarding. My husband Don came with me today. He's getting certified through Pet Partners, and he's a hospice volunteer, and he's going to take the next dog we get and go into a hospice house. So there's just all kinds of things people can do. So thank you so much for doing the proclamation and raising the awareness a little bit of the work that gets done.
Thank you. No, we appreciate you being here, and we will come down and present the proclamation and take a picture.
Okay.
And we have extra cards from Milo, so if anyone wants one. Okay, I think then we will take item number
Do 5A?
5A separately, and we'll just go ahead and do that to start with. So with that, Scott Chesney, our planning director, would you like to come speak to that?
Can we put up the slides? Commissioners, as you recall from the briefing, one of the comprehensive plan amendments that was submitted this year that the Planning Commission held a public hearing on was not recommended to advance into the initiation stage. It's amendment number 2. You can see here on the north part of town. Next slide, please. Right off Country Homes Road and Wall Street. It was denied on a 3-2 vote. In some cases, the comments involved the applicant not being present to explain their project or to answer questions. For the other parts of the planning commission, or the other parts of the evaluation, this amendment proposal does meet the basic standards to be considered for further analysis. And remember, at this stage, it's only an initiation. It would be you directing the information back to staff for a full evaluation that would then go through the public hearing with the Planning Commission later in the year and then back to you for final judgment. Before you today is a choice to add this to the initiation pile or to agree with the Planning Commission's recommendations, which would exclude it from further consideration. And happy to answer any other questions about the project if you'd like.
One question I have, okay. Chris, do you want to go, Commissioner Jordan?
Go ahead, Madam Chair.
Okay, so the Planning Commission recommendation was to deny it 3-2. How many members of the Planning Commission do we have?
There were 7, and there were only 5 at the
meeting.
So
Okay.
there was a quorum, but it was less than full.
Okay, thank you. That just helps me. Commissioner Jordan.
Scott, do we make it clear to the applicants that they should appear at these meetings, or is there any kind of notice to the applicant encouraging them to show up? So that's part one of the question.
Certainly. Part of it is a little still unusual. This is only the third time that we have held public hearings for the initiation stage, which we tried out in 21 and was so favorably reviewed that we amended our code to do that. When an applicant puts a project into the hopper, most of the time it is with an agent rather than the applicant themselves. Most of those agents know the procedure, and so there's no requirement that they attend on their behalf. And in some cases, perhaps you could make the assumption that because this is only the initiation stage, that's fairly straightforward. But the role they would play would be simply to answer questions or to ask the Planning Commission for its support to initiate the project for further consideration. We have relatively little detail, so it's not a detailed question and answer session at that stage or at this stage.
Do they typically show up and participate actively so far since we've had that process?
Yes, yeah. Most often an applicant will show up to be their own advocate.
Yeah. So because there's no requirement, I presume we don't let them know, hey, you should probably show up for this.
We don't, and to be, I guess, frank about it, it almost seems obvious to us that it would be, that if you're sending this submission in and you've been noticed that there's a public hearing, it's usually a good idea to be there.
Is that something that we could look at in the future of trying to, make it clear that appearing in the process is a good idea somehow? Is that something you can examine?
I certainly think that would be useful to put into the application packet. I don't know that it would require a code change or any more severe thing.
Okay. And if I could just keep going with my questions real quick, can you summarize so far what the community concerns have been? I gathered that there was some community members, neighbors that were at the Planning Commission meeting, and just curious what we've heard so far.
Next slide. Certainly, Commissioner. One more. And one more. The concerns generally around the technical issues of floodplain and stormwater management on the far western part of the parcel, in addition to fairly normal concerns related to increased traffic with the increased density and changes in the land use pattern from low density or single family development into multifamily, which are fairly typical of a project like this.
Do we, at this stage of initiation, is there any kind of staff analysis of that, of the substantive comments from community?
No. Well, there's no substantive analysis because we don't have a full and complete application from these proposals until they are initiated. As you might imagine, the assessment work that's done is fairly extensive and it becomes quite costly. And so the county offers the chance to submit really an abstract, and then if it is initiated by this board, they would be notified tomorrow that it's initiated and they have a certain period of time to produce that full application, usually about 6 to 8 weeks.
And then if we do initiate, I presume there's still significant opportunity for neighbors and community to participate in that process.
Extensive. Now that we've added this participation up front, it's noticed on the property, it's noticed to the adjacent owners, and so we will take continuous comment and information through our website or through our email system until it goes through analysis, in which case our results will be posted on the web. The public will have a chance to comment on those. We'll have another workshop with the Planning Commission, take comments at that, and finally hold a full public hearing for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation back to this board.
One more question, if I could. In your experience working with the board and with the Planning Commission, when there's an application for a comp plan amendment and the Planning Commission looks at it, what are the typical reasons that an application is rejected for initiation at this stage? Is it usually
Sure.
Why would this like see a rejection of initiation?
Sure, there have been three since I joined the team. One was recently an application to move into a mixed commercial, mixed residential use into our heavy industrial area, and the Planning Commission recommended against that because of the change of losing heavy industrial land for a different use. Another was a proposed amendment that would have changed the residential density of lands north of Highway 2, immediately north of Fairchild Air Force Base, which the JLUS contours would prohibit that from having a higher intensity of development, and the applicant was informed of that, but chose to take it to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission recognized that that was essentially a non-starter. And then this one, which there's no legal or technical reason that this amendment should not advance. The Planning Commission seemed only clear that they wish the applicant was there to be able to address questions.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Mr. Chesney? Okay,
Maybe.
I will then look to my fellow commissioners.
If I might chime in, just because this one, we posted two different resolutions, one that
Yep.
moved 0224 forward, and one that did not. So just for the record, I believe the motion would be to initiate CPA 0224, 03, 24, 04, 24, 05, 24, 12, 23, and 0222.
Would you be able to provide a copy to our vice chair for that?
I can, or you can so move.
Good. Oh, I was going to ask if you want to state it, but if you, I guess you already did. So I will make a motion to the effect as stated by our attorney.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve as stated, which would initiate all of the items that were presented. Mr. French, Commissioner French, sorry.
No, that's all right. I've been called worse. I'm supporting the motion to move this item forward just because I think the applicant deserves the right to be able to go through the process. Now, whether they're successful or not, that's a decision to be made after they've gone through the process. And if they've met the thresholds necessary to qualify for a zone change, then that's a determination that'll be made much further down the road. But for this one, to have it not go through the process because a representative didn't show up at the meeting seems to be, when we're dealing with a housing shortage in this county, and this is going to provide an opportunity for more housing, that in my mind outweighs the fact that somebody might not have showed up to a hearing and stuff. So I'm very comfortable at least allowing them to go through the process, which this motion does. So thank you.
Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate Mr. Chesney answering my questions today. That helps a lot. I just want to say I appreciate all of our planning commissioners for the time that they take to vet these proposals, give us a recommendation. So I'm thinking carefully about what they recommended. I do share the a concern about lack of participation at that stage because it's important, I think, to answer questions and to be engaged.
Thank you. I would just agree. I think, Scott, you said, it's easy to add something like that to the bottom of the application or to the application process itself, to let them know that that would be our intent, is to have them be part of the process. So I will be supporting this as well. Commissioner Waldron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the comments from Commissioner French and Commissioner Jordan, and I think you guys made some excellent points. And I will support the initiation, and I look forward to learning more about all these projects and in more detail and getting more input from the community. So I will support adding this one in. I do appreciate the work of the Plan Commission, and I hear what you're saying, Chair Cuny, that just adding some language would be great, and making sure the Plan Commissioners understand all of the different pieces of the process. We can always do better to clarify. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve all of the initiations to move forward. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So then I will look to my fellow commissioners for the rest of the agenda.
Madam Chair, move to approve items 4, 6, and 7 as printed on, and including all sub-items as they appear on today's agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for items 4, 6, and 7, and all sub-items as presented on today's agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That then takes us to item number 8, which is a public hearing to consider the sale of surplus county property, assessors parcel number 45191.0906 and 45202.0528 for Spokane County Public Works Department.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Considering the sale of surplus county property, assessors parcel number 45191.0906 and 45202.0528. These parcels are located, do we have a slide? Yeah, thank you. These parcels are located on the southeast corner of Appleway and Dishman Road. The site size is 71,217 square feet, which is 1.63 acres. We purchased the property for the Valley Couplet for $131,352.50 on September 26, 1986. When the county built the Appleway Boulevard, the couplet, the plans contained a swell on this site. The plan was to retain an easement for the swell, and since the city of Spokane Valley is now the jurisdiction of record, the easement for this swell should be reserved for them. The Public Works Department recommends that the property be sold using GovDeals to auction the property online. The county's website will point to GovDeals website, and the property will post for approximately a month before the auction ends. I have received many offers on this property and will contact all those I have received offers from, notifying them of the website so that they may bid on this property. The Public Works Department recommends that the property be sold via GovDeals. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Deborah Firkins? Commissioner Jordan.
I was just looking at the cover sheet here, and it says that legal counsel advised we should change our procedures for the sale of the property. Can you just kind of explain what procedures changing? And sorry if I missed that.
Oh, well, before, when we were selling a piece of property like this, I would get offers for the property. We'd have a purchase and sell agreements of however many offers I'd received. Then I would come to the board in this public hearing, and I would explain the different offers I had and all of which one I thought was the best offer out of those. Then the board would open it up to the floor for anybody to bid on that piece of property more than the offer that we currently had in hand. And if somebody wanted to bid from the floor, then it would be an oral auction, and we would take the two highest best bids, and at the following commissioner meeting, then the board would decide which of those bids that they wanted to accept. And then if the board accepted one of them, then I would close like a normal property deal with the one that the board selected.
Thank you. So it has been a change that we've had, but just going with the new auction site that we approved for the helicopter is the same site that we're using for this. So trying it to see how it works for the first time.
Yep. And this site is on the MLS as well, so.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jordan.
What's the zoning for the site?
This is zoned,
I think it's commercial.
yeah, it was the special commercial zone that they placed upon the couplet that the city of Spokane Valley has.
Commissioner Waldron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the proceeds of the sale will go back to the Public Works Department?
Yes.
Was there a particular source of will it just go into the general Public Works pot, or will there be a specific revenue that we need to put these dollars into once it's sold?
It'll go back into Fund 110. That's where the money came from.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Jordan.
Sorry, one more. So if it goes on Gov Deals, will it come back to us for kind of a final decision once we put it out in that way?
The way that we have spoken about it, we don't have that resolution in front of the board yet of how exactly, but how we've spoken about it, what will happen is that the highest and best bidder, as long as they've bid higher than the reserve amount that the board has set, then it'll come back to me to go to the closing agent that we're going through, and it'll close like a normal property deal. We won't have to come back to the board. The board will, the chair of the board or the majority of the board will sign the deed, but all the rest of the paperwork will be signed by the CEO or the Public Works Director or the county engineer, depending on which kind of paperwork it is.
So a minimum bid was set. I believe we all discussed that.
Right.
And so a minimum bid was set. And so as long as it's above that minimum bid, that'll be a successful bidder. Okay. So this is a public hearing item, so I will open up for anyone who wants to testify on the consideration of the sale of surplus county property as presented by staff. Seeing no one online, no one in the audience. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing no one online or no one in the audience, I will close the open public testimony and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, move to approve public hearing item number 8A as presented by staff.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Okay, that takes us to the end of our meeting. I will check with Mr. Simmons. If he doesn't unmute, then I'll assume that he doesn't have anything else for this afternoon.
Nothing for me.
Thank you. Our attorney,
Nothing from legal.
thank you. Okay, just double checking to be able to use your stamps for signing documents, commissioners. Okay, perfect. Thank you. With that, then, we will adjourn the meeting for today, and we'll see everybody back next week. Thank you all very much.